Hawaiian Islands, the Orient, contact clearance for every 126.5.
And Talk 6 is taking fire. Okay, convert south of the river. I see you coming to the red tracer. I just called him. You see him well.
Since the dawn of the first age, by the elders it was foretold, a mighty few that would rise when needed most. Their words would inspire enlightenment among the common. As it was prophesied, it has come to pass. Everybody has a podcast.
I wanted to share with you a picture that came across my Facebook, and I love it. I love it when there are a few times in your life when you see something and it's like really powerful. It's quick and to the point, but that's what makes it powerful to you. You know, it's such a fucking good statement. And living in Austin, this is what I battle all the time. This is what I battle all the fucking time with grown-ass adults. This picture, I'm going to put it up here in the live stream. This picture says, "Art won't save the world. Go volunteer at a soup kitchen, you pretentious fuck." That's a sign that someone put out on a pole outside. "Art won't save the world. Go volunteer at a soup kitchen, you pretentious fuck." I love that so fucking much. I am surrounded by all of these like 30-year-olds who are expressing themselves and still make $27,000 a year. It grosses me the fuck out, man. And I don't understand. You know, people talk about fight the man. You know, to fight the man, you have to become the man. Let's say you don't like something political. Well, you can sit there and fucking do Facebook, you know, protests all day long. Or you could go be a lawyer. You could go get your law degree. You could go fucking run for office, and you could literally change the system. But all of these pseudo adults who still live off their stepdad's fucking money, this goes out to them. Art will not save the world. Go volunteer to soup kitchens, you pretentious fuck. I love it.
It's great. That's great. Very simply put. You know another way you can change the world is by fucking voting. You know, there's a lot of people that don't vote, and they are the very first fucking people that will bitch about politics and normal shit. I don't care what side of the fence you stand on, right? I think that's why it makes this country amazing. But if you don't fucking vote, right, if you haven't taken the time to vote, shut your fucking cockhole, right? Because you have no basis to argue about anything. You didn't do anything about it.
I do agree with that. And one thing against that would be, well, what if I don't believe in any of the candidates? There is a candidate that I promise you represents your beliefs. It's just obviously not going to be from the big parties, most likely, you know?
Well, Ryan, I think you're 100% right, but I think modern-day politics, you don't vote for somebody, you're voting against somebody else, right? That's the last 6 or 7 times I voted. I've not voted for a candidate that I loved because I haven't loved any of the candidates, to be honest with you. But I voted against people that I thought were more damaging to the country.
I voted for Al Sharpton one time.
Al Sharpton?
Yeah, that's right, Ryan. You should edit crickets right there.
Yeah, he doesn't have a chance of winning. Come on.
Is he the CEO for Sharpie? Black Sharpie.
Midnight Black Sharpie.
Well, it's not as romantic.
He have a fucking chance of winning.
It's not as romantic to roll up your fucking sleeves and get down in the muck and do real work. But let's face it, that's really what needs to happen with 99% of life. And it sucks, doesn't it?
No, you're right, Ryan. You're 100% right. You know, but you can't fucking fix the starving kid in Africa from dying by painting a bicycle, right? So get off of it, hipsters. You know, like literally, you're not fooling anybody. Like this sign, it really encompasses all that's great about cynicism because it's dead on and it makes a great point. And I can imagine you living in Austin, Ryan. You're at ground zero.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, Billy. I'm not going to lie.
But my whole point is like what I mean, like my question, I guess, is what compels people to act this way? Like what compels the self-righteous, liberal hippie douche, or on the other side, the overly righteous, like crazy right winger? Like what compels these people to say the shit they say? I don't understand, right? Because both sides are fucking wrong. Right?
Yeah. Well, here's the problem I have. I don't have a problem with young dreamers. I don't, even older people, everyone has to have a dream. I get it. I have dreams, man. I would love for this podcast to be my day job. I wish we could do this every day, that would be cool. That is a dream to me. It's not realistic, I get that, so that's why we do it one night a week, and I work a day job. I do not have a problem with people having dreams. I think that's healthy. It's great. The problem I have is with people who don't grow out of this shit. This sign, art won't save the world, go volunteer at a soup kitchen, you pretentious fuck. This goes out to every 30-year-old who has not changed since they were 17. You know, if you're 20 and you think you're going to change the world, I get it. Go out and try. But about the time you're 23, 24, 25, you need to probably realize that, yeah, that's not going to get much shit done, and you need to grow up like everybody else. I think that's the main problem I have, mainly because Austin it nurtures those people more than any place I've ever seen. I've never seen more 45-year-old waiters and waitresses in any city. It's probably only worse in L.A., with everybody trying to be an actor.
I'm obviously the youngest person here. By far, I mean, look at us. Look at all of us.
Look at your smooth skin.
My lavender skin. But I'm 26, and I've known Billy since, 2005, 2006-ish?
Sure.
Roughly. Close enough. I was 20 years old, and I was literally... I had this conversation in the 2005/2006 time frame where I was like, I'm 20. I have to bust my ass and figure out what I'm going to do with my life. And it's really sad whenever a 30-year-old still hasn't come to grips with himself and say, maybe my dreams are kind of stupid. And maybe I have to just shut the fuck up and get a job.
Yeah, or maybe I could just do my dreams for an hour or two every night when I get home from my fucking day job. How about that?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't know anybody who's 110% living their dream.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. The world, honestly, on this planet Earth, and I'm talking, 100% financial freedom. So what do we have? Like 4.6 billion people on the Earth? Maybe 0.1 or 2% of the people on this Earth have achieved that. And I'm talking like Bill Gates has done it. Elon Musk has done it. I mean, it's very rare.
Well, I'm telling you, when Warren Buffett was 14 years old, Warren Buffett did not want to be like an investor.
No, he had a real job.
Yeah, he was like
busted his ass.
He's just trying to figure it out, and that's what he landed on, what he was good at. And for me, I wanted to shitty fucking nerdy kid that has no concept of reality. I wanted to like make video games. So I was going to go to TSDC for that. And I was 14 years old.
I'm going to video game school.
Yeah. The problem is I was 14 years old and thinking that, and I was, fucking around with programming and stuff and whatever. I grew out of that very quickly and realized that wasn't going to happen. But there are 25, 26-year-olds who are like, yeah, I'm going to TSDC for video games next year. I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
I guess the troubling thing for me, and this is kind of getting at the root of this sign, is how hard work is almost uncool nowadays, if you think about it. With all the entitlements of today's society. Ryan, you said earlier, you talked about government cheese. Well, I grew up very similar, very modestly, right? My dad was a Marine. Both of them were very hardworking people. My mom worked her ass off. I have, older brother and older sister. And we didn't go without, but the same token is we didn't grow up uber privileged either. But I grew up knowing the value of a dollar and knowing a work ethic, right? And my dad told me the most important thing you can do when you leave my house is work your ass off, because the work you put in today will benefit you tomorrow, right? And that is a motto or an ethos that I've lived by. My problem is, if you look at all these super successful people, and yeah, there's the people out there that, jump into Yahoo at the right time and make millions. I mean, there are all those stories out there, but that is the that's not the rule; it's the exception. There's no I guess hard work is everything. I mean, if hard work will get you to where you want to go, and I think you can dream to be a bleeding heart artist, you can do all that stuff, and like you said, Ryan, Austin kind of cultivates that, which I think is super cool, right? Super cool. Like, do it. That's the spirit of Austin. Absolutely, it's amazing. It's why people like to go to Austin. It's cool. Like it's it's kind of a nice laid back atmosphere. But at some point in your life, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, my burlap hoodie is no longer cool.
Yeah.
I need to open a book and fucking
Well, now I am of differing opinion of Billy and Ryan. They're both big proponents of like working hard, busting your ass. I'm not. And I'm not saying that if you bust your ass, busting your ass is always a safe bet. Let me put it that way. I just think, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I know what I'm getting at is you can work smart or you can work hard or you can combine the two. But I've just really made it. I worked really hard the first couple of years of my life, and then I realized I don't want to work hard anymore. And so I personally, I don't know. It's kind of shitty to say. I feel like I kind of I've been skating by the rest of my life, and I'm cool making decent money and kind of just sitting around doing my thing. And I work, but like I'm not busting my ass.
Breaking out of the middle is always the hardest because when you're making $8 an hour, you're highly uncomfortable. It's not hard to bust your ass and work harder to get out of that bracket. But when you get to the 40K mark, when you start getting around there, things start getting pretty comfortable. You know, you start being able to afford a decent house, and you can get cable, and you can get a little Kia car. You know, it's that bracket, that I'd say like $40,000 to $60,000 bracket. That's a hard one to bust out of because you're comfortable and you don't have to work harder.
I'm past that, but I'm past that bracket. But like, I still kind of like sit around and look around, and I'm like, well, I mean, I guess I've just shifted more to working smart because sometimes working hard I felt bit me in the ass, and I really see like my parents and my grandparents, they worked their asses off, dude. And like that put a lot of strain on their relationships, and obviously my relationships have gone great. But you know, I don't know. I'm just scared to fall into that trap of like where I bust my ass and I fucking make $40K a year the rest of my life.
I think the most important piece, and if we're talking about like yearly revenue and kind of what you're making, and kind of like I think the illusion is, man, if I could just make if say you're at 70, man, if I could make 80, or if you're at 80, man, if I could just make 90. I think that's a bit of a mirage, an illusion, because unless you manage your finances right? So I know people that make $35, $40 a year that live great, right? They live perfectly comfortable. They're not in debt because they're smart with their money. They manage their stuff, and they live exactly like they want to live. And I know people that make six figures that are over their head in debt and that live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, people fall into that. Take more money in, put more money out kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's fucking stupid.
Dude,
I did that for a while. It's fucking stupid.
It's all relative, right? And, I think the result to a certain extent, too, happiness is relative. Me and the wife had the conversation today. We were driving home from work, and she brought up a point, and, we were talking about, like, you don't know how good you have it until, like, tragedy strikes somebody else, and you kind of reflect on how good your life is compared to others, That's a dangerous trap to fall into because at that point, complacency hits, right? But it's true, right? Like the other night, we went to BJ's, which is a restaurant. If you're not familiar with BJ's, I don't know if they're out of Texas or not, but it's a chain here in Texas. They brew their own beer. They serve good food. It's a nice place to eat, right? We went to BJ's and I ordered a New York strip, which is a good cut of steak. It's the best steak they had because I just wanted a steak. And it came out and it wasn't cooked the way I thought it should be cooked. But I don't ever send food back. Because I used to be a waiter, and people fuck with your food when you do that. So I just ate it, right? But I caught myself saying, this steak's not that good for $25. This would be a better. I mean, $25 steak. Let's be honest. But I was like, this steak's not that good, and I caught myself saying it, right? I mean, when you say stuff that's highly hypocritical to your own beliefs, you catch yourself. Like there are people all around the world that would literally murder their entire family for like 1/8 of the steak I ate that night, and I'm bitching about it because it's not cooked right. So it's all relative. It's completely relative.
Well, let me. Two things. So first of all, Clark's right about working hard versus working smart. These days, you have to do both. If you work hard, you're just going to work yourself into the ground, and smart people are going to fuck you over. But I think the underlying theme here that we haven't touched on, it's more about working hard and working smart. It's about having the drive to do better. And as long as you have that drive, you'll apply that in one way or another, to better yourself. It will manifest itself as long as you have that drive and you apply it. And it could be working hard. It could be working smart. I would trust that you would have the brain capacity to figure out, exactly how to weight each side of those. Also, I saw a documentary a couple years ago, and it was I can't remember the name of it, but they selected, it was like this starving village in Africa. It's just they have nothing to do, so they just sit around in trees and they fucking starve, distended bellies. It's that whole thing. It's that classical Africa stereotype, and it was like a lottery system, and I think 5 of them from that tribe, they got to come to America, and they set them up with an apartment for a month or two, and they're like, look, you come to America now, we're going to set you up to where you can make something of yourself. You know, you can come to America and apply yourself. Hooray, your life is better now. And you know what?
No.
Well, no, here's the deal. They worked their fucking asses off in America. And so what I'm getting at is it's just as much of a grind over here. Over there, the problem is I don't have anything to eat, but they also had nothing to do. Here, they were having to work 2 or 3 jobs just to survive, you know? So it sucks, too. It's a grind. Everybody has their own battles.
Different level. Yeah.
You know, and yeah, were they eating better here? Sure, they were eating more processed foods, and they had an apartment, but you know, they were literally working like 17 hours a day just to make that happen, and barely make it happen. You know.
So here's kind of another question on that. Would you guys trade living barely paycheck to paycheck and doing something that you absolutely love every day, but kind of skating by through life, or do something that you absolutely despise, but live comfortable with discretionary income?
Describe comfortable to me.
Well, I mean, comfortable would be, you know, your own. You feel like you have financial happiness, like you have.
Like I could buy a house if I want to,
right.
or I could buy a car.
Well, I mean, just like you know, just you're not living a paycheck to paycheck basis. Like you're not like worried about, you know, man, I can't write this check for rent or mortgage because I got to wait till payday. I
say B. There is literally nothing I hate on this earth more than not having money. I hate it. That is the worst feeling in the world. That's worse than having to go to work. Is worrying about.
But you know what?
Am I going to be able to pay this, or do I have? I've literally, you know, I'm fucking almost 30. I've had some times recently. It's like, goddamn, I don't think I have gas money for next week. That sucks, man.
Yeah, I'll take B all day long.
And you know why I think we all choose B? And I'm not speaking for you, Clark, because I don't know how you grew up. Ryan and I both grew up pretty humbly. And I think that people that grow up under humble circumstances, it's important for us to have financial independence. Now, whether we ever achieve that or not, you know, that's always up to the rat race and the individual. But I take pride in knowing that, like, I pay my bills on time, right? I've got money in the bank to do this. Like, sometimes I'll blow money on something completely retarded and stupid, right? But just because I've got it and I can. Just because the way, you know, you grew up and you have you value that independence because you always kind of felt hamstrung by it.
Yeah.
But for every one of those, right, there's that guy that works at an art studio, or he, you know, teaches golf lessons at the driving range, or whatever the hell. He designs video games, independent, you know. That guy's loving life every day, and he comes back and he's like the bum on the beach in Galveston we talked about in previous episodes, right?
Yeah.
And that's always my thought, right? Anytime I start deep thinking or get introspective about this stuff, I think to myself, I'm like, who's got it figured out? You know, the guy that's up to his nipples in debt, and even though he may make, you know, $200,000 a year, you know, he's completely in debt and he's not ever going to get out of it. And, you know, like he's got all these bills and he's got to go to this job that he fucking hates in order to pay all his bills. Or the guy that doesn't have any overhead, the society may scoff at, but he gets to do what he fucking wants to do every day. And to him, he's happy. And that's the issue. You know, to me, that's the conundrum. You know, which one is the American dream to me is relative, but like I have at this stage of my life, I'm 34, right? At this stage of my life, I have a hard time differentiating the two. Like, which one do I want?
Well, let me say that the work I do, I don't hate. I don't hate it. In fact, I actually enjoy it 99% of the time. But it enables me to do what I really want to do,
which is eat pizza rolls and play video games
and podcast.
Yeah.
And you know. That's really what I want to do, and nobody's ever going to pay me to do those things.
Yeah,
so I'll be miserable at work, even though I love my job. I'll be miserable at work for my 10-hour days I now do. But when I'm off, I'm instantly happy. But if you're broke all the time and you're still doing what you love, it doesn't matter if you're working or if you're off or whatever. That instability is always in the back of your mind and always plaguing your existence, regardless of how happy you are doing your job or whatever.
I think you have to look at that instability, why that bothers you. Because I think for me, it's because like how I grew up, right? Like I don't want to paint an inaccurate picture. Like I didn't grow up in a shack, and you know, like my parents were very hardworking people, and they busted their ass, and they did a great job raising us. But
they have a little 3-bedroom, and they fucking worked hard for it.
Yeah, kind of absolutely, right. And they went to work every day, and they taught us right from wrong. I mean, they did the right thing, right? We lived in Michigan, and the economy in Michigan tanked, and my family moved to Texas. My dad moved us to Texas, which in hindsight is a brilliant move, looking at the last 20 years and how Michigan's declined and what Texas has boomed. So that to me, that's an inspiring story though, because like to our parents, and I'm sure Ryan's mom and your mom and dad, Clark, they just want us to have a better life than they have because they busted their ass and sacrificed things for us. But to me though, the reason, because I feel the same way, Clark. Like if I feel like I'm living paycheck to paycheck, I feel like a lump of shit, right? No matter how much I make, like if I don't have this bill covered, or if I even got to worry about it, like it bothers me, right? It makes me feel like less than a man. So you have to worry. You have to think about like what causes that, like what causes that emotion.
So, Billy, the question you asked, and I think you meant it to be abstract or kind of rhetorical. And the question you asked, and we've talked about this before on the podcast, who has it figured out, right? It's actually, there is a correct answer for that, and the correct answer is the guy who works something he doesn't like. And here's why: when you're 60, you've got a couple of options. Either you have enough money to take care of yourself, or you're a burden onto other people. Okay, so there's that. If you don't have cash, you can't function in society. You might be happy in your 20s while you're healthy, but when you get older, you've got nothing if you don't have a nest egg built up.
Yeah.
Okay? Now here's where everybody fucks it up. They go and they do the miserable work, but then they make stupid financial decisions. They go lease that car they don't need. They go buy that house, even though they own a house and it's 3-bedroom. They want that other one, the 4-bedroom with the pool, because they want a rec room. That's where everybody fucks it up, and that's why that end seems to not work out. Billy, did you just buy a 4-bedroom with a rec room?
You just described me, Ryan. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, buddy.
Billy, you're fucked.
You're right, dude. You're right.
Billy can afford it. That's the difference. Is Billy looked at his finances, he understood that he could afford these things. These other people are like, just because somebody gives you a fucking loan doesn't mean you should have a fucking loan.
Yeah, hence the housing bubble burst of 2008.
But yeah, Ryan, I think you hit the nail right on the proverbial head. I couldn't have said it any better. I think like you're right. I think that you have this plan, right? And everyone should have a plan. If even if it's a terrible plan, it's better than not having one, right? You have this plan to retire. You have your nest egg, your 401k or your IRAs or your portfolio, whatever you decide. But when you make that terrible decision, and I've seen people that I know that I care a lot about do it over and over and over again. They'll have a car that works fine, but they'll want that new car because a neighbor has a new car, or they want that, like you said, Ryan, they want the house with the extra bedroom, or the new trendy neighborhood and all that stuff. And it's the keeping up with the Joneses part that really digs people deep, and then they have to claw their way back out. It's from a third person point of view, it's so clear, but it's so easy to fall into when you're in the moment.
So I know I have a lot of people that I know in Austin. I might be related to a couple of them, and they're living life right now. They're mid-20s. They're getting closer to 30, and life's great, man. They drink a lot of beer, and they have fun. And you know what? I envy them right now. I really do. I wish almost every day when I'm sitting there in my 8 to 5 with responsibilities that I could just go fucking work back in retail. You know why? It's 0 responsibilities, and at 5, I get to fuck off and go get drunk or go play video games. I wish. But who's going to be sad in 20 years? Who's going to be better off in 20 years? Well, if I don't make the wrong financial decisions, I'll be better off, right? But yeah, I mean that's why. Yeah, I'm hoping that this pays off in the long run.
Yeah, it is. It's a gamble, Ryan. You're 100% right. I mean, at this point, especially our generation, right? When I say our generation, Clark and I are separated by 8 years, but we're I figure we're still in the same generation. For us, it's a gamble. Our retirements are absolutely a gamble because, right, the economic, the stock markets and the way the world economics are, Social Security is going to be absolutely bankrupt by the time we're, so we need to factor in.
Yeah, I don't rely on that at all.
No Social Security whatsoever. Yeah, like we can't even figure that in anymore. Like when I just 2 weeks ago, I sat down to redo my 401k, and I've been putting in like 9 or 10%, right? Because my wife's got a good job, and she's really good with money. I'm very fortunate that she's that good with money because I've always been a tightwad, and in a relationship that can be difficult because if the other person is not, it causes a lot of stress in a relationship. But she sees the same way I do. But this last time I sat down and I started, they have like the little calculator and the little chart you look at. Well, if I want this much money when I retire, I need to set back this much kind of money. And it's eye-opening. I mean, it really is eye-opening because you feel like, man, I'm putting away a lot of money. But that 401k, and I don't mean to scare anybody, but that 401k or that money you're putting in there could be gone in a very quick moment, Yeah,
because all it is an it's an investment. 401ks are just an investment. Yep. And like any investment, prices go up and down.
Yeah, it's a gamble. Yeah. I mean, investments is it's a nice way to say that you're gambling. You're gambling with your money.
And you know, you could just fucking slap your money in savings, but really, you could walk in one day and your fucking savings could be gone. Well, really, and this is paranoid guy coming out again, but you know, in 50 years, we'll be lucky if we're all on the fucking USD still.
Yeah. Well, 50 years is probably it's probably being nice.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I think the U.S. dollar is, and you know, not to get too far into tinfoil talk, but I think the U.S. dollar is almost it's a design. I think that they're designing it to fail.
Yeah.
Well, everything's moving to digital currency anyways, right? So it doesn't matter necessarily, even if we technically everybody stayed in their respective ones. We're all just an Excel entry somewhere in some database right now, anyways, right? I mean, how much cash do you guys have in your wallet?
Part of what you never had is gone and can't be taken back.